Transaxle removal. Switch off the ignition and remove the ignition key. Rotate the steering wheel and lock it. Open the bonnet and fix the stay rod in position to support the bonnet. Remove the battery. Loosen 10 mm mounting bolts on the battery tray and detach the battery tray. Remove the intercooler. Remove the air filter assembly. Loosen 4 10 mm degassing tank mounting bolts and move the degassing tank with the coolant hose. Release the clutch slave cylinder lock and detach the clutch slave cylinder hose from the transaxle. Pull out 2 gear shift cables from the transaxle shifting lever. Press locks and pull out the gear shift cables connected to the top of the transaxle housing. Remove the starter motor. Remove the 12 mm ground connection mounting bolt from the transaxle and detach the ground connection. Press a lock and pull out electrical connectors from the neutral sensor and reverse switch. Loosen 36 mm drive shaft lock nuts and remove the 21 mm wheel nuts and detach both the front wheels. Remove the brake caliper assemblies. Remove the LH dust cover. Press the lock and pull out the electrical connector of the vehicle speed sensor. Detach front link rod from the stabilizer bar on both sides. Remove the McPherson strut bottom mounting bolts of the knuckle assembly. Using a screwdriver, detach the LHS drive shaft from the transaxle. Insert a suitable cap to the transaxle LHS to prevent gear oil draining. Loosen 3 13 mm RHS drive shaft mounting bolts and detach the RHS drive shaft. Insert a suitable cap to the transaxle RHS to prevent oil draining. Remove the 2 10 mm power steering hose mounting bolts from the cradle. Remove the 12 mm intermediate shaft mounting bolt and remove the intermediate shaft from the steering gear. Remove the 10 mm heat shield mounting bolt from the steering rack. Remove the 2 10 mm mounting bolts of power steering suction and return hose brackets. Loosen the 17 mm lock nuts of pressure hose and cooler loop return hose and detach the hoses from the steering rack. Allow to drain out the oil. Caution: plug the steering rack assembly inlet and outlet hose oil passage with dust cap to avoid any foreign particles entry. Disconnect the rubber hinges from the cradle assembly. Remove a center mounting bolt and nut from front side of the transaxle. Remove a center mounting bolt and nut from rear side of the transaxle. Remove a 18 mm cradle bracket nut from both sides of the cradle bracket. Remove the 13 mm and 18 mm cradle bracket cover mounting bolts and nuts from both sides of the cradle bracket. Lower the vehicle from 2-post lift and support the cradle with a stand. Using a rope chain, hook the engine carefully at its lifting brackets. Danger: improper tie-up of the lifting rope chain will cause damage to the vehicle and the persons involved. Remove 4 21 mm cradle mounting bolts from the 4 sides of the chassis. Lift the vehicle in 2 posts and ensure that the cradle is properly supported on the stand. Separately detach the cradle assembly and place it aside by carefully supporting the brake disc. Loosen the 14 mm transaxle side mounting bolts near the flywheel. Remove 2 14 mm transaxle top mounting bolts and remove 4 18 mm transaxle LH mounting bolts. Using hydraulic stand, support the transaxle. Remove other 6 14 mm mounting bolts from the transaxle. Detach the transaxle assembly with the help of a hydraulic stand. Transaxle installation. Correctly match the engine backplate with a dowel hole pin on the cylinder block. Caution: to install reverse the removal procedure. Refill transaxle oil if required. For additional information, refer to Transaxle Oil Replace section.